Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about why I love my life as a conservative woman. Now, this is going to be the first episode in a series all about why I love being conservative, and I love being a conservative woman specifically. So today I really want to talk about marriage and why I love being married. I've definitely done a bunch of videos about why marriage is so important to me, why it's something I'm so glad I did, and why it's the best choice I ever made. But I really want to talk about that from a conservative perspective. Now, if you are someone who is not conservative but you love marriage, hooray, you're on the same side as me. That's great. And marriage is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Now, the reason that I talk about it from a conservative perspective is that conservatives really value marriage. We think it's something that actually is important, and it's important to the building of a society. So when you look at the statistics, for example, there's a very famous statistic by Haskins and Sawhill in their book, Creating an Opportunity Society, where they say that if you do three things, if you fulfill three norms, which is finish high school, get married before you have children, and work a full-time job, then 73.8% of people who do that are in the middle class. And so being married is one of those three norms that makes it so much better for our society to get married before having children. And so marriage is not just something that I like as an individual, it's also something that conservatives and conservative women value as a whole. So being a conservative woman really is about emphasizing how important marriage is, not only to each of us as individuals and to our lives and how enriching it is, but also to society and American society as a whole. But again, if you're on the other side of the aisle and you love marriage too, that's great. And it's not to say that you can't love marriage if you're not conservative. It's just that conservative women look at marriage a little bit differently and a little bit more of a necessity than just, oh, this is a really nice thing that people do and should do and love to do. So I'm excited to share with you guys why I love being married from a conservative perspective. So let's get into it. One of the things that I absolutely love about being married is that I'm married to a man who believes in marriage as much as I do. When you're conservative, it's important to marry someone who shares your values. And my husband and I were always on the same page about what marriage meant. But that meant that marriage for us was a huge decision that we didn't take lightly. And it was a decision that even now the two of us are constantly checking in with each other and knowing that this is going to be something that's going to go the distance. We don't view marriage as something that we just did because we fell in love. We view it as this is the building block for us to have a family, be part of a community, and this is long term. So when I look at my husband and we talk about marriage, it's very comforting to me to know that he feels as strongly about our marriage as I do, and about how important it is for us to work on it and make sure it's healthy and our relationship stays together and we stay on the same page as regards our relationship. So we really do take care of our marriage, make sure to talk about it, communicate, obviously. As everyone says, communication is the key to marriage, and it's so true. And we are always checking in with each other because I don't have to fear that my husband views marriage as something that's temporary. He and I both view it from a conservative perspective that this is something that's important for us, important for our society, important for our country. And it's so important for me to have married a man who does view marriage that way, who does see marriage as something that is a building block for our lives and for our futures. So that's something that makes me so happy as a conservative woman and as a married woman, as a wife. The next reason that I love my life being a conservative wife is that I view my marriage and my future family and my children as the most important thing in my life. So I have other passions. I have a job, my husband has a job, but we know what we're doing it all for, and that's gonna be for our family and for the community we build and that we're a part of. And the reason that is a conservative value is because I don't have to fight with that part of myself that's thinking that I'm oppressed by the patriarchy, that feminist idea that because I'm putting family first, it means I can't put career first and I've just been oppressed by that. I don't feel that at all. I feel that as a conservative woman, I've made the right choices. I've put the most important things at the forefront of my life. And that's gonna be the love that I have and the values that I'm gonna instill in my children and in my family. And being married has really clarified for me what my life goals are. And it's not just for me ambition in my work, but it is that wholesome view of my life, that holistic view of my life, of a husband and a family and career which will support that. So I love that as a married woman, I can really take advantage of these parts of my life that as a single woman, it's something you look forward to. It's something that you're kind of growing towards, but not necessarily there yet. And when you're married, you can really recognize what matters, what is important, what your purpose is, and what your mission is. And I can't wait for the future as my husband and I continue to grow towards that with our children and our family. Now, another thing that's great now that I'm a wife is that I don't have to date anymore. Dating is so hard. Finding the person who's going to not only mesh with you personality-wise, but also compatibility-wise, and is going to fit with those values that you want for your future and fit into the idea of what you want from your life is so tricky. And it is so hard to find that person who fits all those things for you. And when I met Jacob, it was like, thank God. I felt like I could just breathe a sigh of relief because Jacob and I knew really early on that we wanted to get married, and it wasn't even a question that either one of us was afraid of. It was something that we both were really excited about. And when you're dating, there's this constant push and pull of, should we compromise here? Are we going to fit together? And it's just not necessarily something that you can really have a good time with. Now, of course, there are some fun parts of dating, so that's not to say that every part of dating is awful, but dating as a whole is a little bit of an anxiety trip. Whereas when you're married, that anxiety really does go away in a lot of ways. Of course, there's a lot of new anxieties, but they're much less than that big, huge question of who am I going to spend my life with? And when you're married, you don't have to worry about that in the same way. You're with this person, hopefully that you've chosen that does share your values and does view marriage as something that's as important as you do. And the two of you can really make a life together. And that is just the best of all worlds. It's just the greatest thing ever. Being married to my husband is so nice because I don't have to hide my conservatism with my husband or even feel like I shouldn't say something. Of course, you guys know that I lived my life in fear of talking about being conservative because I was in the arts and I was scared about it. And if I had married somebody who didn't share my values, I would have felt nervous to bring things up. Maybe it would have started a fight, something like that. I never have to worry about that with my husband because we do share values. And that's something that I think is a conservative idea, which is that you should marry somebody who does share your views because it's just gonna make your life so much easier. And when you're trying to raise kids, you're gonna be doing it with the same idea in mind. And I just love that my husband and I really don't have to worry about that. It's something that the two of us feel really comfortable talking about and really enjoy talking about. The two of us talk about conservatism a lot. It's just part of our daily conversation. And it's just a great thing for me and for him that we don't feel that nervousness and anxiety about, can I bring this up? Is this gonna start a fight? Or whatever. So it's just something that I love about being married as a conservative woman. As I've said before in my videos about marriage, we're invested in each other's growth. And you don't get that from anyone else. You don't get that from friends or parents in the same way that you do with a spouse, with the person who is not only viewing you as their partner, but also as kind of the other half of themselves. And they really want you to be the best version of you because that's also the best version of them. And to know that there's somebody else who cares this much about who you are, what you are, in the best way possible is so comforting. And it also makes you realize that this person is not only helping you be a better wife, but they're also helping you be a better mother. Because by you improving, it's not just you improving for yourself and for your husband, but also for your future children. And having a husband who does help me with that, and I can help him with that, makes my life so much richer. And I just love that about being married. The thing about being married is that marriage is the basic building block of a community. It's the first part, it's a brick in the building that is a community. And I say this because when you get married, you're ready to put down roots. You're ready to settle down, have a family, and really start a life. And I've been part of a community where it was all singles. I was in a community in New York that was really all single people. And it was a community in the sense that you had friends and people all went to the same synagogues, but it wasn't a community in the sense that everyone was transitory. Everyone knew that this wasn't permanent, that they were going to be moving out as soon as they met the person that they wanted to be with, and that they would start a family somewhere else. And so when you have that feeling of, oh, this isn't stability, people are leaving, it's not a community in the same way. But a real community is with families, is with children growing up, knowing each other, becoming friends, and spending time in school together as their parents all become friends with each other too. That's the building blocks of a community. And so that's why marriage is so important. It's so lovely. And it really is so fulfilling. I mean, being married is what makes you feel like you have a goal in life, a mission, and it really makes you less of a selfish person. Now, people will tell you that being in a long-term relationship is the same as being married, and there are a lot of reasons that's not the case. There's the practical reason of marriage is a contract. And I know that takes some of the romance out of it, but the fact is, it's true. When two people build a building together, a contractor and a developer, they don't do it without a contract. Because if the contractor decides he wants to walk off and not finish the job, the developer is left with a half-finished building that he still has to pay for. You would never do that. That's not something you would ever do. But with relationships, people do that all the time. They'll have children out of wedlock, and one person can just leave, and you have that half-finished family structure that you don't have that support system there. Now, of course, there are divorces where there are children, but in that case, there was still a contract, so the husband has to pay alimony, or there has to be a support system. That's just the less romantic version of why a marriage contract is so important. But the deeper reason that marriage is so important is that it prevents you from being selfish in saying, I don't want to make this really intense commitment where I can't walk away at any time if I see something better. Because you don't get to do that when you're married. You have to sink all your love and your life into another person and into your future children. And it's not something that you can just walk away from with no strings attached. Your mission becomes your family, and it's not just about you anymore. You are demonstrating to yourself and to the world that it's about the two of you as a team, and you can't walk away. And from a more selfish perspective, the fact is when you're married, you don't have to worry that your partner can just walk away either. You have a spouse who has committed himself to you too. So there isn't this fear that he can just leave. My anxiety really went away when I got married because it was this feeling of, oh, my husband has chosen me and he's not gonna walk away. And the marriage contract is just a symbol of that too. External obligations are not just about taking away your freedom, they're also about giving you meaning. And when you're only living for yourself and for your wants and desires, that in and of itself is a cage. You're just following your animal instincts instead of just living for a higher purpose. And so when you get married, even though there's this sort of feeling that the freedom is gone, it's not. Because you're free to explore the higher levels of you, of yourself, of your relationship, and you're forced to examine those external obligations and really put your heart and soul into another person, which only makes you better. As you can see, I'm a big fan of marriage, I'm a big proponent of it, and I am so happy I'm a wife. But I'm really excited to talk about all of the different aspects of what make me so happy to be a conservative woman, and this was just the first episode in that series. So let me know in the comments below what makes you happy to be a conservative woman, why you love your life as a conservative woman. I'd love to hear. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please subscribe to my channel and blog if you haven't already. Head over to my Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook and follow me there. Hit that notification bell to get notified of all my new videos. Hit that like button. Please head over to classicallyabby.locals.com if you'd like to support my channel, see more of this content, and be part of our community. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!